All right, guys. Next thing I'd like to discuss is the dilemma principle, or out of the frying pan into the fire, caught between a rock and a hard place, horns of the dilemma, skill and Charybdis, all that other stuff. It basically it means you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. You have to have two threats and two opposing threats. So let's say, for instance, I'm like, watch out. If you stop my double leg, I'm going to rear naked choke you. You're like, probably not. Those things don't really intersect. However, let's say a crossover. You guys remember Allen Iverson back in the day? Some of you, if not, look him up on the YouTube. Like breaking people's ankles, like borderline breaking people's ankles in the NBA with just the threat of left and right. But he would start to get people moving out of position and start to get them biting and committed to his movements. And because he was threatening in multiple directions, and he was also threatening from where he was, with let's say a jump shot or going forward directly past them, he was able to really keep people guessing in an otherwise, compared to fighting, super simple game. I take the ball, I put it in that hoop over there. You get standing in the way, I try to get around you. I mean, I can give the ball to somebody else, but when you think about how simple basketball is compared to how seemingly complicated grappling or fighting can be, you're like, yikes, I can't believe that these guys are able to do anything. And you look at boxing, you're like, I got this one, and I got that one. Oh, you can hit like this? No. You can hit like that? No. You're allowed to spin around? No. I'm like, yikes. So really, I've got this thing that brings you, that scares you. If you want to come over here, you're going to encounter my right hand. If that's threatening, and you're like, well, I got an idea. I'm going to stay away from that. I'm going to go to the left. You can encounter my left. So if I actually have threats on both sides, even if I'm relatively speaking easy to understand from a concept perspective of is what I'm up to, it's not necessarily easy to stop what I'm doing if I threaten you. That's yet another reason that I bring this up over and over again. I know that if we come back, that sitting on your butt like this is not the ideal way to play this position, because I'm unable to create a serious back and forth from the bottom or the top position. I mean, we don't even have a bottom or top position. We're both kind of like jockeying to see who can not actually engage the other guy here. But I'm not able to get a whole lot going because I can't move my body a whole great deal. And you'll see a lot of you come over here. Let's go over here. Yeah. It's one of the best parts about 50/50 is to be able to do that. So anyway, so for camera purposes, it's pretty easy. But anyway, I can dig in. I'm not going to say it's wrong, but it's difficult to be able to create a really layered threat, particularly against a guy that understands what he's doing defensively. Now, if Adam comes up, I'll hit this. The threat of spinning inside makes you want to do what? The threat of going outside makes you want to do what? Exactly. I'm corralling Adam's body position with what I'm doing by going left and right. If I simply stay stationary in front of you, and it doesn't matter what sport you're engaging in, you're going to really tend to struggle to create reliable offense against good people. I have to be able to adjust my position in space. So when I'm guard passing, same deal. Back this away. I can go up the middle, which implies that he should block. Now I can go around the way. I could go to my left, only to go to my right. Now he opens that leg. How are we going to stop this pass? Cool. Now I go up the middle. How are we going to stop that pass? Now I go around the outside. How are you going to stop that pass? Cool. We reset. I go up the middle. How are you going to stop that pass? Cool. I go around the outside. If I bring bogus threats, and the reason that you don't see this working really, really well, except for only people at a high level, is generally speaking, the threat isn't real. And, I remember when I was doing MMA in the beginning, I would throw punches at people, but I didn't really intend to hurt anyone with them, and that was apparent against people who were really good. So what ended up happening was they didn't buy the threat, and I would find myself going, man, it's really hard to get this guy to do what I want. He doesn't seem to be reacting to my punches. Well, if I'm not committing with intention, and then also I'm not able to create a real threat, I'm going to really, really tend to struggle with leading my opponent into anything. If a 7-year-old decided that they wanted to box me, I'm like, okay, which hand of theirs are you most afraid of? I'm like, well, neither, because this individual, this tiny person, lacks the ability to harm me. So that's actually what makes competing outside of your weight class, if the big person is doing what he knows he or she should be doing, really, really challenging, because if you're not careful, they can just run over and mug you depending upon the situation. They don't have to approach you with the same level of caution, certainly not in a fight, because you lack the ability in many cases to threaten them physically. I have to let you know that I'm able to affect your position or able to hurt you. And that's where, if we come back again for fitty here, by being up, I say, just dig my heel out. He has to adjust his body position. Dig my heel out while staying down with your hips. I can't. Yeah, like there's no dilemma here. I'm like, I see what you're doing. Keep going. I see what you're doing, and I'm just not going to let you do it. I'm like, okay, lift your hips up. Oh, yikes, he's able. All right, now dig my heel out, go to the inside. Uh-oh, and Adam gets me. Okay. But he was able to start to create a real threat. However, in creating that real threat, do the same thing again. He had to actually adjust his body position. So what I need to make sure that you guys are understanding is that in all of your positions, whether it's this or the other, 50-50, open guard, top, passing, punching, kicking, elbowing, hopscotch, if you play it competitively, I would imagine, you have to be able to threaten multiple directions and multiple attacks, more than one. And that doesn't mean going 3 different ways to hit the same direction. That's like 7 different variations of the heel hook. Those are all shades of one threat. I have to be able to show you left direction movement, right direction movement, under direction movement, up direction movement, around, back foot direction movement. When you're able to start to create a multi-directional, multifaceted threat, that's when you can create a real dilemma, and that's when you're going to start to see your effectiveness come way up.